Welcome to the cold side of the truth. Welcome to the shadows where power hides behind a smile and dominance wears a mask of quiet. Welcome to the space they never speak of, the space where the underestimated rise and the loud ones fall. You've entered the realm of the soft-spoken destroyers, the baby-faced masterminds, the quiet storms. You are not here by accident. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are the calm before chaos. You are the silence that stings harder than screams. You are the one they doubted, and that is your greatest weapon. Let them laugh at your soft voice. Let them stare at your peaceful eyes. Let them whisper behind your back that you're too kind, too nice, too small, too gentle. Let them wrap you in those fragile labels, because the more they believe in them, the less they prepare for you. They don't see the fire burning behind your eyes because they're too busy staring at the glow of your innocence. They don't notice the calculations behind your kindness. They don't realize that every polite nod was measured, every innocent smile was placed, and every step you took was deliberate. A move on a chessboard where they thought you were the pawn. You see, they only watch the loud. They only fear the aggressive. They think power has to roar to be real. But you are the whisper that echoes. You are the shadow that moves while they sleep. You are the force they only understand when it's too late. And by then, they're already explaining to everyone what they can't even comprehend. What happened, why they lost, why their plans collapsed, why their strength shattered at the hands of someone who didn't even look dangerous. That's where your power lies. In being unreadable, in being unpredictable, in being misunderstood on purpose. They called you harmless. They assumed you were weak. They thought your silence was fear, your quietness was confusion, your kindness was softness. But what they never understood is that you were watching. You were learning. You were absorbing every detail, every flaw, every assumption. While they spoke, you studied. While they flexed, you planned. While they showed off their power, you built yours. Silently, patiently, ruthlessly. You never needed to shout. You never needed to prove. You never needed to show your cards. Because you weren't playing to impress. You were playing to win. And now that the game is flipped, they can't trace the move that took them down. They're left stunned, scratching their heads, blaming each other, questioning the air. Because they can't accept that the one they ignored, the one they underestimated, the one with the soft voice and the baby face, was always 10 steps ahead. It's not just about revenge. No, this is about evolution. This is about the art of becoming so quiet that you hear everything, so calm that you see what chaos hides, so underestimated that your victory feels like a ghost haunting the room. And when they finally wake up to the damage, it's already done. Their empires, cracked. Their ego, dismantled. Their plans, ashes. And you walk away without needing applause, without needing credit. Because true power doesn't need recognition. It only needs results. You were never made to blend in. You were born to walk among giants and never let them know you're one of them. To move through the world with grace so sharp, it cuts. To wear your softness like armor, to wield your innocence like a sword. Because they only protect themselves from threats they can see. And you were the storm they couldn't predict. Let them talk. Let them keep writing stories where you're the side character. Let them keep overlooking you, misunderstanding your stillness, mocking your quiet nature. Every time they do, they're handing you another weapon. Every laugh at your expense is another brick in the fortress you're building. Every doubt they cast is a step you climb silently, until one day you're at the top and they're too far behind to catch you. That's when the silence becomes deafening. That's when the question hits them. How did we not see this coming? The truth is they did. Deep down, they sensed something in you, something different. But it made them uncomfortable. You didn't fit into their box of power. You didn't scream for attention. You didn't play their game, so they denied it, buried it, pretended it wasn't there. But that quiet presence, it haunted them. That unshakable focus, it disturbed them. That baby face, it confused them, because it didn't match the strength they felt behind it. That's why they talk now. That's why they're scrambling to explain how they fell. Because they weren't just outsmarted, they were unprepared. And you made sure of that. You didn't take shortcuts. You didn't fake your way up. You studied. You trained. You mastered the silence. You sharpened your mind in the shadows while they performed in the spotlight. They don't get it. They think power is in being noticed. But you know, real power is in being remembered without ever needing to be seen. They shouted. You moved. They posed. You struck. And now, they are left with a story they can't tell. Because admitting you won means admitting they never understood what power really looked like. You are not a villain. You are not a savior. You are the answer to a world that never paid attention to the quiet ones. You are the result of their ignorance. You are the face they forgot. Now, the face they'll never forget. And you never had to become something else. You only had to become fully you. The quiet was always strength. The softness was always power. The innocence, that was a trap. That was the illusion. And they walked right into it, thinking they were the hunters. But you were never the prey. You were the architect, the one behind the curtains, the one who planned it all with precision, with patience, with purpose. Now they sit in the aftermath, speechless, trying to describe the moment everything slipped away. But there's no footage of the moment you changed the game, because you didn't need a stage. You just needed time. You just needed their doubt, and they gave you both. So keep walking with that same calm step. Keep smiling that same soft smile. Keep speaking in tones that confuse them, because that's your power. Every day they underestimate you is a day you win more ground. Every time they turn their backs is another moment you gain control. The ones who shout for attention burn fast, but the ones who move in silence, they last. They endure. They become legends whispered in the corners of every room, because no one ever saw them coming. You were never made to follow. You were made to rewrite the entire system. You were made to break the rules they said could never be broken. You were made to walk into rooms they said you didn't belong in and own them, with presence, with intelligence, with calm force. They may never understand how it happened, but you will always know why it did, because they looked at your face and saw weakness. But what they didn't know was that behind that face lived the storm that ended them. The baby face was a trap, and now they know. Good. You're still here. That means something inside you's waking up. That means the silence you've lived in for too long is starting to shift. You feel it, don't you? That quiet voice in your chest that isn't asking for permission anymore. That whisper inside that no longer wants to be gentle just to be accepted. That feeling that you've played their game for too long, and now it's time to flip the board. See, most people never see it coming, because they're taught that fire only exists in the loud ones. That strength has to look like shouting and fists and dominance that needs to be announced. But you were designed differently. You weren't born to scream. You were born to strike when no one's looking. Born to make the loud ones sit in silence after you pass through. Born to walk through doors they locked without needing a key. They dressed you in labels. Too sensitive, too quiet, too sweet. They mistook compassion for weakness and kindness for fragility, and you let them. That was the first move in the game they didn't know they were playing, because what they didn't see, what they still don't see, is that every time they labeled you, they told you exactly how they think. Every insult, data. Every dismissal, fuel. Every rejection, another brick in the foundation of something they couldn't imagine. Your rise, and now they feel it. the shift in the atmosphere when you enter a room, the weight of your presence when you speak. Not loud, but deep, sharp, measured. You don't raise your voice, you lower the room, because your voice carries something theirs doesn't. Experience. Quiet pain turned into quiet power. Years of being looked through turned into vision, clarity, intent. You walk differently now, not with arrogance, but precision. You speak less, but say more. You no longer explain yourself, because you've learned that those who demand explanations are usually the ones who never listened in the first place. Let them ask questions. Let them talk in circles. You've already moved beyond their reach. They'll say you changed. They'll say you became cold, distant, strategic. But here's the truth. You didn't change. You returned. You came back to who you were always meant to be before they told you to shrink, before they taught you to tone it down, before they convinced you that your silence made you small. They were wrong. Your silence made you unstoppable. Now they call it luck. They say you got ahead somehow. They rewrite the story to fit their comfort, because the truth terrifies them, that someone like you, someone they underestimated, overlooked, ignored, could rise without their permission, without their validation, without needing to scream or beg or perform. They fell for the face, they fell for the tone, they fell for the quiet, and now they can't explain what happened, but you can, because you planned it. Every move, every silence. Every time you chose not to respond, not to react, not to defend yourself. It wasn't weakness, it was war, internal war, strategic patience, measured restraint, and now you're stepping into the phase where all of it pays off, where every scar becomes a strategy, every insult becomes armor, every time they look down on you becomes a platform that raised you higher. You don't need to seek revenge. Your existence is the answer. Your peace is the punishment. Your success, quiet, unshakable, earned, is the echo in their ears. They'll never admit it out loud, but they know. And that's the power. They know. They feel it when your name comes up in a room. They feel it when you walk past without needing to speak. They feel it in the silence after you've left. The weight of someone who doesn't need to be loud to be legendary. Keep going. You're not done. Because what's coming next is the part they never prepared for. The part where you no longer hold back. The part where you own who you are without softening it for their comfort. You are not too much. You are not too deep. You are not too quiet. You are exactly the amount of everything this world tried to dilute. The time for hiding is over. Let them look. Let them watch. Let them whisper. You don't need to be louder. You need to be unapologetically real. Because when truth walks into a room, it doesn't need an introduction. It speaks in presence. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood. You are here to redefine what power looks like. And your face? The one they mocked, the one they underestimated? That's the face of a new era. The calm before the revolution. The storm they never prepared for. You are the one they never saw coming. And now, they'll never forget you. Good. You're still breathing this in. This truth that the world tried to bury beneath politeness and pretense. You're still walking through these words. And that means the quiet fire in you hasn't gone out. It means it's only getting stronger. So let's go deeper. Let's go where most won't. Let's walk into the part of the story they're afraid to tell, because it exposes what power really looks like. See, they think power walks in loud, makes noise, demands attention. They think it wears suits, titles, medals. They think it needs to be announced. But you never needed that. You never needed an introduction. Because the people who really carry weight never walk in with noise. They walk in with presence. You don't ask for respect. You command it. Without words, without effort, without even trying. But it wasn't always like this, was it? Number. There was a time they laughed, a time they rolled their eyes when you spoke, a time they dismissed your ideas, silenced your voice, smiled politely but never listened. They talked over you, they called you soft, they thought they could break you with mockery, push you aside with volume. But you didn't break, you absorbed. Every moment they overlooked you became data. Every joke at your expense became fuel. You didn't react, you didn't need to. You were too busy building, too busy evolving in silence. You studied the room while they performed in it. You paid attention to their habits, their egos, their weaknesses, while they ignored yours because they thought you didn't have any strength to begin with. And now they can't trace the moment you surpassed them because it didn't happen in one grand gesture. It happened in thousands of quiet steps they never noticed. It happened in the background while they were chasing applause. While they were flashing their strength, you were becoming strong. Not loud strong, unshakable strong, the kind of strength that doesn't break because it was built in silence, tested in solitude, and forged in rejection. They thought silence meant weakness. They never knew silence could be surgical. You didn't need to raise your voice to be heard. You just needed to wait. Now, they're all looking around, confused, asking each other, what happened? How did they get here? Weren't they the quiet one? Weren't they the soft one? And the answer is yes, you were. And that's what gave you the advantage. You didn't need to warn them. You just needed to outgrow them. You learned something they never did. That restraint is more powerful than reaction. That mystery is more intimidating than noise. That being underestimated is not a disadvantage. It's an advantage they handed to you willingly. And you took it with a smile. Now they live in the aftermath. Now they have to face what happens when the quiet ones stop hiding. Now they have to watch you lead without asking. Now they have to answer questions they don't want to hear, because now you are the standard. And the truth? It wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about proving to yourself that you were never what they said you were. That your silence wasn't a weakness, it was a choice. That your patience wasn't passivity, it was preparation. That your gentleness wasn't fragility, it was finesse. They thought they were playing the game, but you were reading the rule book, designing your own version in secret. So let them talk. Let them scramble to rewrite history now that they've seen the results. But you keep moving. Keep walking through rooms like you belong, because you do. Keep letting your results speak for you, because they will. Keep being polite, but don't shrink. Keep being kind, but don't fold. Keep being calm, but don't ever again confuse your silence with submission. They'll say, you changed, and maybe you did. But more than that, you uncovered who you've always been. The mask you wore to survive. The baby face, the soft tone, the quiet demeanor. That wasn't weakness. That was the perfect armor. That was the cover that let you slip past the guards they built around themselves. That was the disguise that let you walk into the center of everything and remain unseen until you were ready to rise. And now, they can't unsee you. Now, when your name is spoken, there's weight behind it. Now, when you enter a room, the energy shifts. Now, when you speak, they listen. Not because you scream, but because they've learned the hard way that silence is the most dangerous language on earth, and you speak it fluently. You became fluent in discipline. You became fluent in strategy. You became fluent in the art of holding back until it was time to strike. You don't chase validation. You generate it. You don't force respect. You command it. You don't steal the spotlight. You become the light in rooms that once ignored you. And now, the ones who doubted you, they're trying to catch up. But it's too late. Because while they were building egos, you were building empires. While they were seeking followers, you were seeking mastery. While they were laughing, you were listening. And now, they have no choice but to hear you. So walk tall, not because you have something to prove, but because you proved it. quietly, powerfully, without ever needing their permission. You are the one they whispered about when they thought you weren't listening. You are the one they pitied, dismissed, ignored. You are the one they tried to box in until you broke the box and rebuilt yourself as something they don't even recognize. Let them be shocked. Let them be confused. Let them keep asking each other, how did it happen? How did we not see it? What did we miss? They missed everything. And that's what made your rise inevitable. The face they thought was harmless, that was the trap. The kindness they thought was weakness, that was the cover. The silence they thought was submission, that was the strategy. And now you move differently. Because you are different. Because you let the doubt carve strength into your bones. Because you let their ignorance become your blueprint. Because you use the time in the shadows to build something unbreakable. Let the world keep watching. Let them wonder. Let them talk. You don't need the last word. You already had the final move. And they'll never forget it. You made it here, still standing, still breathing this truth, still wearing the calmness that used to get you dismissed. But now it's you, crown. Now it's your armor. And now, in these final words, we bring everything full circle. No noise, no screaming, just the quiet weight of undeniable power. Your power, realized, risen, and unstoppable. Because here's the truth they never wanted to believe. You never needed saving. You never needed a spotlight. You never needed to prove anything. All you needed was time. Time to understand who you really are. Time to see that their underestimation was a weapon handed to you, not thrown at you. Time to let the quiet parts of you grow strong enough to shake foundations. Now, that time has passed. Now you are no longer in waiting. You are no longer hiding. You are no longer surviving their world. You are building your own. And it shows. You can see it in the way they look at you now, the confusion in their eyes, the hesitation in their voice, the respect that wasn't there before. They don't say it out loud. Not yet. But you feel it. You see it in the way they move when you enter the room. The shift in tone, the sudden awareness, the silence. That's how you know. You didn't need to fight for their attention. You became something they couldn't ignore. You look innocent. They fell for it. Now, they can't explain what happened. Because what happened is that you stopped apologizing. You stopped dimming your light so others could shine comfortably. You stopped holding back your intelligence, your ambition, your intensity. You stopped making yourself small just to make others feel big. You rose. In silence, with precision, with power that doesn't need to roar, because it's rooted. And now, everything is different. You don't chase, you choose. You don't beg, you build. You don't prove, you are. They remember you as the quiet one. But now, your silence feels dangerous. They remember you as the kind one. But now, your kindness comes with boundaries. They remember you as the soft one. But now, your softness is wrapped around steel. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them spin stories that make it easier for them to sleep at night. Let them try to rewrite the past so they don't have to admit what they missed. It doesn't matter. Because you know the truth. You know that the version of you they thought was too gentle, too quiet, too invisible was the deadliest version of all. You know that while they were climbing fake ladders, chasing validation, faking strength, you were building. Silently, deeply, patiently. And now, you are the storm. Not loud, not chaotic, not messy, but cold, focused, and inevitable. You don't show your power. You move with it. You live in it. You own it. This is not revenge. This is a revelation. This is what it looks like when someone fully becomes who they were always meant to be, without compromise. And if they ask, if they ever have the courage to approach you and say, "How did this happen?" you don't even need to answer. Your presence is the answer. Your peace is the answer. Your growth is the answer. The silence they once mocked is now the sound of their defeat. And that face, the baby face, the one they thought was too soft for this world, that was the trap, the ultimate illusion, the perfect cover, because they thought you were harmless. But now they understand. You are inevitable. The day you stopped responding, their power started crumbling. No dramatic showdown, no final speech, no grand exit, just silence, pure unshakable silence. They waited for your usual reaction, ready with their scripts and manipulations, but you gave them nothing, the kind of nothing that rattled their existence, the kind of nothing that echoed louder than any word you could have spoken. It was the silence that terrified them more than any outburst or defiant confrontation. It was the silence that cracked open the fortress they had built around you. It was the silence that broke the chains they had wrapped around your mind and heart for so long. For years they had held you captive in their twisted narrative, where your worth was defined by their judgments and your emotions were weapons they could wield against you at will. They told you that your feelings were wrong, that your pain was an inconvenience, that your needs were burdens they didn't want to carry. They convinced you that your anger was too much, your sadness too draining, your silence too loud to be tolerated. And for years you bent under that weight, believing you had to carry their burdens, their desires, their judgments. You were taught to silence yourself, to erase your own voice, and to suppress every instinct that told you something was wrong, something was broken. But when you stopped responding, you shattered the walls they had built around you. You stopped playing their game, and in that moment, you broke the cycle of abuse. They had thrived on your response. They had become intoxicated by your vulnerability. It gave them a sense of control. It gave them power. They were masters of manipulation, knowing just the right buttons to push, to make you feel small, to make you feel insignificant. But when you stopped, when you ceased to give them the satisfaction of knowing how deeply their words and actions had cut you, their control began to slip away. They couldn't understand it. They couldn't grasp it, because they had never learned to exist without the constant ebb and flow of your reactions, your emotions, your pleas for relief. They had never learned to confront their own demons, so they projected them onto you, forcing you to carry the weight of their misery, their rage, their insecurities. But you broke free. You refused to carry their burden any longer. It wasn't easy to stop responding. It wasn't easy to quiet the voice inside your head that screamed for justice, that screamed for answers, that screamed for recognition of the pain you had endured. But the day you made that decision was the day you reclaimed your power. It was the day you chose yourself over them. The day you chose healing over misery. The day you chose peace over the chaos they had created around you. You knew that no amount of words, no matter how sharp or clever, would change anything. It was all a cycle, a never-ending loop of manipulation and control designed to break you down. And when you stopped responding, you took the first step toward breaking free from that cycle. You knew that your silence would be the weapon they could never fight against, because silence cannot be manipulated, it cannot be twisted, it cannot be used to control you. You didn't need to scream for justice. You didn't need to beg for validation. You didn't need to explain your pain over and over again. For them to understand the truth, they had already heard it, but they had chosen to ignore it. They had chosen to believe their lies were stronger than your reality. But your silence was a refusal to play their game any longer, and that is where their power broke. That is where they lost their hold over you. It wasn't in a dramatic confrontation or a grand exit. It was in the quiet refusal to engage. It was in the refusal to play the part they had written for you, the refusal to continue being the victim in their twisted narrative. They had tried to make you believe that you were nothing without them, that you were worthless without their approval, without their validation. But in your silence, you proved them wrong. In your silence, you found your own voice, your own strength, your own truth. They no longer had a hold over you because they could not silence you anymore. They could not control you with their words or their actions because you had learned that your worth was not determined by their abuse or their neglect. Your worth was not defined by their cruelty. Your worth was yours to claim, and you did. In their desperation, they tried to provoke you. They tried to drag you back into the drama they had created. They tried to bait you with their anger, with their manipulation, with their false promises, but you stayed silent. You held your ground. You refused to let them have the satisfaction of seeing you react because you knew that your silence was not weakness, it was strength. It was the strength of knowing that you no longer needed to engage with their toxic behavior. It was the strength of understanding that you had nothing left to prove, to them or to anyone else for that matter. The moment you stopped responding, you became a force they could no longer comprehend. They were left with nothing to hold on to, no power over you, no means to manipulate your emotions, no way to twist the truth to fit their narrative. They had relied on your reactions to sustain their sense of control, but without them, they were nothing. They were exposed for the weak, fragile people they truly were, and in that exposure their control crumbled. They couldn't understand how their tactics no longer worked, how their insults no longer hurt, how their lies no longer affected you. But that was the power of your silence. It was the power of breaking free from the cycle of abuse. They had expected you to fight back, to yell, to beg for understanding, but you gave them nothing. You gave them the one thing they could never fight against: your absence. Your refusal to engage in that silence spoke volumes. It spoke of strength. It spoke of resilience. It spoke of a person who had finally come to understand their own worth, their own value, their own power. They had tried to break you. They had tried to wear you down. But your silence was the ultimate act of defiance. It was the final blow to their twisted sense of control, because it made them realize that no matter how hard they tried, no matter how much they manipulated, no matter how much they tried to make you feel small, you could never be broken again. In that silence, you took back your life, you took back your peace, you took back your soul, and in doing so, you broke the cycle of abuse that had haunted you for so long. You no longer needed their validation. You no longer needed their approval, because you had found the truth within yourself. You had found the courage to stand alone and to walk away from the toxic hold they had over you. Your silence was your freedom. It was your strength. It was the key that unlocked the door to your healing, and it was the moment that marked the beginning of your journey back to yourself. They may never understand what happened. They may never comprehend the depth of your silence. They may continue to try to manipulate and control others, but they will never be able to do that to you again, because you know now, you know that your silence was not weakness. It was the loudest statement of strength you could ever make. You chose not to fight, not because you were afraid, but because you knew that fighting would only drag you back into their twisted world. You chose to walk away, not because you couldn't stand up for yourself, but because you had already risen above them. So let them try to understand. Let them try to make sense of your silence. But know this: your silence was the greatest victory of all. It was the moment you reclaimed your power. It was the moment you broke free from the chains they had tried to bind you with. It was the moment you stopped being their victim and started being the hero of your own story. For too long, the narrative had been dictated by forces outside of your control. The voices that sought to break you, to mold you into something you weren't, had been loud, unyielding, and relentless. But what they failed to understand was that heroes aren't born in the grand gestures or epic battles. Heroes are forged in the quiet moments, in the decisions made when no one is watching, when no applause follows, when it's just you and your own strength facing the darkness of your past. The moment you chose silence, you took that first step, and in that moment, you became the one who wrote the next chapter of your life. You had lived so long in the shadows of their dominance, walking in fear of their words, their actions, their manipulation. Every time they told you who you were, you believed them. Every time they took your voice away, you let it happen. Every time they placed the weight of their emotional turmoil on your shoulders, you carried it, thinking that was your role, your duty. But now, you see that it was never your burden to bear. You were never meant to be a vessel for their darkness. You were meant to be the one who would rise above it, to walk a path untouched by the lies they tried to convince you were true. When you stopped responding, you stopped feeding the cycle. You broke the chains that had held you prisoner. You didn't need to announce your liberation to the world. It wasn't about their recognition or validation. You didn't need to explain yourself to anyone. Your silence was your freedom, and it spoke volumes. It was the declaration that you had finally reclaimed your power, a quiet but unshakable statement that the pain they inflicted on you would no longer define who you were. In that silence, you became the architect of your own reality. They believed that they held the keys to your future, that they could control the course of your life with a few well-chosen words, with a few calculated emotional manipulations. But the truth is, they never had control. They only held the illusion of it. And when you stopped playing their game, when you stopped reacting to their provocations, their power over you slipped away like sand through their fingers. The walls they had carefully constructed around you began to crumble. What they had built wasn't a fortress. It was a house of cards, and your silence was the wind that blew it all down. They tried to provoke you. They tried to bait you with accusations, with guilt, with anger. But each time, you held your ground. Each time, you refused to engage, refused to lower yourself into the pit of their manipulation. They thought they could make you doubt yourself again, make you question your worth. But you knew better now. You knew that you didn't need their approval, their attention, or their love to be whole. You were already whole. You were already enough. Their tactics, so familiar to you for so long, became hollow. The more they tried, the more they revealed their own weaknesses. They tried to make you believe that without them, you would be lost, that without their influence, you would fade into nothingness. But you proved them wrong. Your silence wasn't an absence. It was the beginning of something new. It was the ground from which your true self began to grow. It was the moment you stopped allowing them to dictate your narrative, and in doing so, you rewrote the story from one of pain, dependence, and fear to one of strength, independence, and freedom. You were never the person they tried to make you believe you were. You were never their victim, their punching bag, their tool for their emotional release. You were never meant to be a character in their twisted plot. You were meant to be the protagonist in your own journey. The moment you stopped responding to their abuse, you finally gave yourself permission to live as your authentic self. You gave yourself permission to heal, to grow, to rise above the toxic patterns they had forced you into. And it was in this new chapter that your true power emerged. As you began to walk away from the pain they caused, you began to notice something incredible happening within yourself. The scars they had left on you, the wounds that once seemed impossible to heal, began to close. They didn't vanish completely. No, but the power they had over you started to fade. The pain no longer dictated your every move. You began to see the beauty in your own resilience, the the strength that had always been inside you, buried beneath the layers of trauma, beneath the layers of their control. And with each passing day, that strength grew. You became the person who could face the world, not in spite of your pain, but because of it. Your silence was a testament to your healing, to the fact that you no longer needed their approval to know who you were. You started to reclaim the pieces of yourself that had been lost in the years of manipulation and control. Your joy, your hope, your dreams, they were all still there, buried deep, waiting for you to recognize them again. And as you began to reconnect with these parts of yourself, you started to rebuild your life. The pieces of the puzzle that had been scattered by their abuse slowly started to come back together, forming a picture of who you truly were, a person who had been through hell, but had come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever. You found your voice again, but this time, it was different. This time, your voice was your own. You didn't need to shout to be heard. You didn't need to beg for validation. You didn't need to argue or explain yourself. Your silence had already said everything that needed to be said. And now, when you spoke, it came from a place of power. It came from a place of self-worth. You spoke with clarity, with purpose, with conviction, and the world around you had no choice but to listen. In the silence, you found your power. In the silence, you broke the chains that had bound you. In the silence, you rose from the ashes of your past and stepped into the person you were always meant to be. You had been through the storm, but now you were standing tall, unshaken by the winds that had once threatened to destroy you. You were no longer the person they tried to make you believe you were. You were the hero of your own story, and you had taken control of your fate. And as you continued on your journey, you realized something incredible. The more you embraced your own power, the more you saw the truth. They never had the power to define you. It wasn't their words, their manipulations, their control that shaped who you were. It was you. You were the one who decided who you would become. You were the one who decided what your future would look like. And the moment you stopped responding to their abuse, you took control of your life in a way they could never have imagined. Their power was an illusion, built on lies, manipulation, and control. But your power was real. It was raw. It was unshakable. You were the architect of your own destiny, and nothing, not their cruelty, not their lies, not their attempts to drag you back into their toxic world, could ever take that from you. You were free. Free to live, free to love, free to heal, and free to step into the future you had always deserved. You are the hero of your story, not because you fought a battle against them, but because you chose to rise above the battle. You chose to heal. You chose silence. And in that silence, you found the power to break free. And in doing so, you proved that there is no power greater than the will to reclaim your own life, your own peace, your own identity. You are the hero you have been waiting for. You always have been. That's the truth that was buried beneath the layers of lies and manipulation. That's the truth that you had forgotten for so long. You were never weak. You were never small. You were never the victim that they tried to convince you were your only identity. The entire time, even through the pain, even through the abuse, the strength to rise was already within you. It had always been there, waiting for the right moment to emerge, waiting for the silence to shatter the false truths they had constructed around you. You were the one who created your path. You were always the one who held the power to change it. They were just the shadows on the periphery of your light, and the moment you embraced your silence, you began to recognize that light within yourself again. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the world around you controls your destiny, especially when you've been conditioned to believe your worth comes from someone else's perception. But the truth is far more liberating than that. The moment you broke the cycle of silence and response, you stopped being a character in someone else's story. You stopped being a pawn in a game where the rules were set by people who never cared to understand your worth. When you refused to answer their provocations, you created a new narrative. You broke free from the patterns they had placed you in, and you started to write your own future. This wasn't an act of defiance just to prove a point. It wasn't an empty gesture or a superficial rejection of what had come before. This was a reclamation of the deepest part of yourself, a return to who you were always meant to be. Your silence wasn't about shutting the world out. It was about stepping into your own truth without the need to explain, to apologize, or to justify. It was about finding your voice not through loud declarations, but through inner peace. That silence was your most profound statement, one that couldn't be twisted or manipulated. It was a clarity that made all of their attempts to pull you back into their drama seem small, insignificant, and irrelevant. In that silence, you discovered a strength that was not reliant on their approval, their validation, or their understanding. You realized that the worth they had tried to strip from you was never theirs to take. It was yours from the beginning. You reclaimed your sense of self, not in one dramatic moment, but in the quiet decisions you made every day to move forward. You understood that your life is not defined by the way others see you, but by the way you choose to see yourself. They had tried to carve a narrative where you were broken, where you were nothing without them, but your silence spoke louder than any words they could have ever used to keep you trapped in their web. The moment you stopped responding, you didn't just stop feeding into their manipulations. You also stopped allowing them to define the boundaries of your existence. For so long, their criticisms, their negativity, their abusive words had become a cage that you had lived in. You had accepted it, even tried to change yourself to meet their expectations. But the truth was that the bars of the cage were made of illusions. You had the power to break free the entire time, and you did. You let their words bounce off you like water off a stone. You refused to let their attacks be the foundation upon which you built your identity. You decided that you would no longer be a prisoner to their narrative. And so, you took the first step. You chose to let go, to stop fighting their battles, to stop chasing after their approval. You chose to stop seeking answers from people who would never understand the depths of your pain and your strength. You stopped fighting their ghosts and started living for yourself. You began to realize that healing doesn't come from their acknowledgement, their apology, or their desire to fix what they broke. Healing comes from within you. It comes from the quiet moments when you sit with yourself and decide that you deserve more than the toxic behaviors they imposed on you. It comes from the strength to acknowledge your scars without letting them define you. It comes from the decision to walk away from what is hurting you, to choose your peace over their chaos, and to choose your voice over their silencing whispers. Every day you move forward, even when it felt like you were standing still, you were healing. Every time you held your silence, you were rebuilding your strength. The walls they had built around you were no longer solid. They were crumbling, bit by bit, and eventually, they would fall apart. Because the reality is, the longer you stay in their world, the longer you engage with their drama, the more power you give them. But the moment you step out of it, the moment you embrace silence, their world loses its grip on you. You see them for what they truly are, not powerful beings with the ability to control you, but fragile creatures clinging to the remnants of their own brokenness. Their power was never real. It was only real as long as you believed it. So, you let go. You let go of the fear. You let go of the guilt. You let go of the shame they tried to impose on you. You let go of the need to prove yourself to anyone who hadn't earned the right to see your worth. And as you let go, you found yourself. You found the strength you had buried for so long. You found your passion, your dreams, your ambitions. You found your sense of peace, and with it came a deep understanding of your own power. You were no longer a reflection of their manipulation. You were no longer their echo. You were yourself. And in that self, you found everything you needed to rise above the cycle, to break free from the chains of their control, and to step into a future where you are in charge. A future where you are the master of your own fate. It wasn't an easy path to walk. The pull of the past, the weight of the years spent under their influence, was strong. And there were days when you questioned whether you had done the right thing, whether leaving their world, stepping away from their expectations, was worth the cost. But the truth is, there was no cost. The real cost would have been to stay in their world, to continue to bend under their manipulations. The cost would have been to live a life defined by someone else's vision of who you should be, and that cost was far too high. The strength you are discovering now is the same strength that has always been inside you. The courage you feel in choosing to walk away is the same courage that has carried you through every painful moment, every harsh word, every crushing action they took. You have already survived the worst of it. You have already walked through the storm and come out stronger on the other side. You have learned the most important lesson of all, that you are enough, that your worth is not determined by their actions or their opinions. It's determined by you, by the way you see yourself, and by the strength you have to move forward, no matter what has come before. You are not defined by what they did to you. You are defined by what you do now, by the steps you take, by the choices you make, by the life you are now beginning to build. And it will be a life of peace. It will be a life of love. It will be a life of true freedom. The freedom to be who you are without apology. The freedom to live in your own truth without fear of judgment. The freedom to speak your voice without needing anyone's permission. They tried to shatter you. They tried to break you into pieces and convince you that you were nothing without them. But you are not broken. You are whole. You are strong. And most importantly, you are free. Free from the cycle of abuse. Free from the need to respond. Free to live your life on your own terms. And as you continue on your journey, remember this. Every step you take, every choice you make, every moment of silence you choose over chaos, you are rewriting the narrative. You are the author of your own story, and this story is one of resilience, strength, and triumph. You have the power to shape your own future, to build the life that reflects who you truly are, not who they wanted you to be. Your silence was the key. It was the moment you took back your power, and in that silence, you became the hero of your own story. And nothing will ever take that away from you. In the end, your silence wasn't weakness, but a declaration of strength. It was the moment you took back control, broke free from the cycle of abuse, and reclaimed your true self. You're no longer bound by their lies or their manipulations. You are the author of your own story, and from this moment on, your narrative will be defined by your power, your resilience, and your peace. You are the hero of your own life, and nothing will ever change that. Hello, warriors of truth, champions of change, believers in the unseen power of proof. Listen closely, for this gathering is no ordinary assembly. Tonight, I stand before you, not merely as a voice, but as a vessel of conviction, carrying echoes of every whispered injustice, every silenced cry, every truth delayed but never destroyed. I welcome you into this moment, this sacred crucible, where cold, hard evidence becomes our weapon, where justice becomes not an idea, but an inevitability, and where the people around us are about to bear witness to a force they never dared imagine. You've got the proof they fear. That's not just a slogan or a fleeting rally cry. It is your sword, your shield, your torch in the darkest corridors of power. And I promise you, when the time comes, that proof will break through defenses, shatter lies, uproot corruption, and demand accountability. What they thought safe in darkness will tremble in the light. Look around you. See the faces, the weary, the hopeful, the resolute. You carry burdens as heavy as mountains, histories as deep as rivers, wounds not yet healed, but within you lies a fire, an unrelenting hunger for justice. Tonight, I call that fire forth. Let it grow. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it steady your hand. Because now is not a time for doubt. Now is the time for evidence, cold, hard, unassailable. We live in a world where words are cheap, where promises flicker and fade, where accusations are dismissed and lies are woven into shields. But evidence is different. Evidence does not negotiate. Evidence does not twist in the wind. Evidence stands, unmoved, undeniable. So long as you hold proof, you hold power. And through this power, you reclaim your voice, your dignity, your future. In every broken system, in every corner where injustice festers, there lurks a fear of exposure. That fear is your leverage. Your ability to bring that fear into the open is your strength. Because when liars tremble at exposure, they cannot contain the collapse of their own narratives. Their lies crack, their walls crumble, their illusions shatter, and justice marches in. You might ask, what counts as proof? It might be a document, a recording, a photograph, a whisper that's been recorded, a financial trace, an email trail, a witness who finally dares speak. Proof takes many shapes. It is not always glamorous or dramatic. Sometimes it is simple, a ledger entry, a timestamp, a phone log. But if it is true, it is powerful beyond measure. And your task is to gather it, guard it, sharpen it, and present it. You are not helpless. You are not voiceless. You are not without recourse. In your hands, you hold a weapon more potent than anger or rhetoric or fleeting outrage. You hold truth manifested in evidence. Let that truth speak with the weight of authority. Let it move like a torrent. Let no shield of lies withstand it. To those who have tried to suppress you, who whispered threats, who built walls of deceit, let them feel the tremor of your conviction. Let their facade wobble. Let their illusions shudder, because proof demands acknowledgement. Even the mightiest must reckon with evidence. No lie lasts forever under the glare of truth. I call upon each of you. Steel your resolve. Sharpen your vision. Let no intimidation stop you. Let no bribe derail you. Let no doubt poison you. You deserve justice. Your community deserves it. The world deserves it. The architects of deceit must be dislodged. The foundations of corruption must be exposed. And that happens when you present what cannot be denied. Yes, the path is dangerous. The opposition is fierce. The threats are real. Doors will slam in your face. Questions will be thrown. Attempts will be made to discredit your sources. Shadows will attempt to swallow your light. But remember, evidence is not vulnerable to spin. Evidence is not seduced by lies. Evidence demands recognition. And when it does, all the ruses of falsehood unravel. Do not shrink back when they try to gaslight you. Do not stammer when they demand impossible proofs or dismiss what you have given them. Stand firm. Let your voice hold steadiness. Let your eyes carry the weight of certainty. Speak not with anger, but with resolve. Present what you have. Ask for no more than truth. Insist on accountability. Make them respond. Surround yourself with integrity. Seek allies you can trust. Protect your evidence. Document everything further. Back up your files. Verify your sources. Strengthen your chain of custody. Every detail matters. The more airtight your case, the harder it is to derail. Build resistances, layers, redundancies. Let no one undermine your foundation. As you prepare to reveal what they fear, let your message echo through the hearts of the community. Let people know that this is not a crusade of revenge. It is a demand for fairness. It is a reclaiming of dignity. It is an assertion that no one stands above the law. It is a reminder that power must answer to truth. And to your adversaries, you are saying, we see you. We know your tactics. We find your secrets. We will bring them into the open. We will challenge your lies. We will not rest until you are exposed. Because we know that justice is not just a concept. It is something earned, something demanded, something fulfilled through effort, courage, and irrefutable proof. Think of how history honors those who dared to stand when others stayed silent. Think of the moments when a single document, a single photograph, a single testimony changed the course of nations. Think of the weight of one woman's courage to tell the truth. Think of the bravery of the accuser who stood despite fear. You are in that lineage now. You are claiming that inheritance. This community is in for a shock. They are about to awaken. They are about to see that the forces that have sown fear, corruption, and deceit are not immortal, that their idols are carved on sand, that their power vanishes when exposed. The truth, once ignited, cannot be contained. And your role is to light that ignition. You will not be silenced. You will not be dismissed. You will not be turned aside. You will not walk away. Because when you stand with proof, when you align with justice, you stand with something far greater than fear, greater than intimidation, greater than the voices of doubt. You stand with destiny. So open your eyes now to all that you hold. Let your mind pull forth every hidden document, every whisper of evidence, every record that bears a trace of truth. Let nothing be overlooked, nothing unnoticed. You will mine every corner, ask every question, pursue every lead. The enemy might try to bury proof in noise, but you are sharper than their distractions. You are calmer than their fears. You are more persistent than their evasion. When the moment arrives to reveal, do it with clarity. Do it with confidence. Do it slowly, if need be. Do it methodically. Let each piece fall precisely into place. Let them feel the weight of the accumulation. Let the narrative shift under the pressure of facts. Let lies crack. Let excuses tremble. Let silence be the only refuge for the guilty. And no refuge is left. Be prepared for backlash. Be ready for counterattacks. Expect denials. Expect distractions. Expect attempts to discredit you, to misdirect, to confuse. But do not yield. The more they try to cloud the waters, the more firmly you must anchor yourself to truth. Return always to evidence. Return always to proof. Return always to what cannot be denied. And remember, justice is not only in your side because you want it, but because truth aligns with you. The tides of history, the currents of conscience, the compass of right, they all favor proof. So you are not fighting alone. You are not resisting in vain. You are channeling something far larger than yourself. The force of accountability, the obligation to fairness, the mandate of dignity. When justice comes, it will not announce itself with fanfare. It will emerge quietly, confidently, unavoidably, like dawn breaking through night, like ice melting under relentless heat, like roots erupting through stone. It will come. And in that moment, your community will know. Truth does have weight. Lies do have consequences. Accountability is not a myth, but a principle. You will stand, not as victims, not as radicals, but as rightful claimants of justice. You will hold your heads high. You will speak for the silenced. You will demand the reckoning, and in that voice will be every person who ever felt small, unheard, disenfranchised. In that voice they will find refuge, hope, vindication. Yes, your opponents may dig, claw, undermine, conspire, but they cannot fight facts. They cannot box light into shadow. They cannot silence evidence. And when they try to smear you, remind them, truth does not need embellishment. Truth does not bend. Truth endures. They fight the fact at their peril. Let your movement be not about retribution, but about restoration. Let it be about rebalancing what was broken. Let it be about rebuilding trust, reclaiming dignity, healing communities. Let it be about setting precedents so future voices need not tremble. You are creating a legacy. You are redefining what compliance means in the face of abuse. You are testifying that no system is untouchable if truth is persistent. Hold fast to each other as you walk this path. When doubt looms, lean on solidarity. When fear creeps in, cling to your purpose. When the way seems obstructed, remember every step forward is a victory. Every revealed fact is a fracture in the edifice of deceit. Celebrate each small truth you uncover. Each affirmation, each corroboration, each breakthrough. These are your milestones. You must also be strategic. Timing matters. Presentation matters. Audience matters. Know the channels. Know the forums. Know the lenses through which your proof will be judged. Press where it is hardest to deflect. Speak in spaces they cannot ignore. Engage the community, the media, the conscience of the public. Let them see the undeniable chain linking cause and effect. Let them understand that silence in the face of proof is complicity. And when the shock comes, let it be righteous, not chaotic. Let it be disciplined, not violent. Let it be anchored in dignity, not revenge. Let it win hearts, not merely headlines. Let it open conversations, not close them. Let it empower by example, not polarize beyond healing. Tonight, I urge you, seize the proof, celebrate its clarity, guard its integrity, mobilize it in service of justice. Do not let fear retreat you. Do not let uncertainty silence you. Do not let intimidation erase you. You are alive with purpose because truth is alive within you. Rise now. Rise with the conviction that you are not powerless. Rise with the dignity of someone who knows what proof can do. Rise with every heart that has ever waited in bitterness for justice. Rise with every voice that has been muted by fear. Rise and present what cannot be denied. Raise that proof high. Let the world see. Let the unjust quake. Let the community be awakened. Let truth become unstoppable. Justice is on your side. You have the proof they fear. The ground beneath corruption begins to crack. The walls of lies begin to fracture. The stage is set. The moment calls. Step forward. Reveal it and let this world tremble. And now, as the final pieces begin to align, as the threads of deception wear thin beneath your unwavering grip on truth, take a breath, not in hesitation, but in reverence. For this breath marks a turning point. This breath is a sacred pause before a reckoning. You are no longer preparing. You are no longer observing. You are no longer wondering what might happen if the truth is brought into the light. You are the light. You are the moment. And the time to unveil what they hoped would remain hidden is now. Let them whisper that you're too bold. Let them scoff at your calm. Let them doubt your resolve. They don't yet understand the depth of your fire, the immovability of your purpose. Because you don't shout to be heard, you speak, and the silence parts. You don't flinch at resistance. You lean into it and break through. You don't beg for justice. You claim it, fully aware that justice belongs to those who pursue it with courage, clarity, and proof that speaks louder than fear. You've already crossed the threshold. There is no turning back. The truth you possess is a living force now. Its pulse is in your hands, and with each step you take, it grows louder, heavier, more undeniable. The world has spun too long on the axis of deceit. But your truth is gravity. It realigns what has been crooked for too long. And now that you've stepped into your power, It is no longer a matter of if, it is only a matter of when. You are not alone. All across this community, this place that has been lulled into silence, lulled into fear, there are others like you, some hiding, some watching, some waiting. And the moment they hear your voice, the moment they see you stand, they will rise too. One truth awakens 100. One proof inspires 1,000. That is the weight of what you hold. That is the responsibility of evidence. And still, the forces you challenge will resist. They will twist their narrative. They will try to bury you in paperwork, procedure, misdirection, false empathy. They will attempt to outlast your endurance, to stretch the battle thin, to drain you with the slow cruelty of bureaucracy. But you have something they don't, conviction backed by truth. You are not defending lies. You are not patching holes in fiction. You are walking a straight road, paved by what is real. And no matter how long it takes, reality always catches up. You do not need to embellish what you have. The truth, unvarnished, is enough. You are not staging drama. You are unveiling facts. You are not seeking revenge. You are demanding redress. You are not building a storm out of fury. You are building it out of justice. And every storm built on justice lands where it is needed most. Let them prepare their excuses. Let them rehearse their denials. Let them cling to the myth of invincibility. You owe them no mercy, not cruelty, but no mercy. Mercy is for those who admit, who repent, who seek to rebuild. But for those who mock the process, who continue to lie in the face of truth, who silence the innocent and hide behind power, they must be exposed. And you are the light that exposes them. This community has slept long enough. It has been lulled by comfort, by routine, by the illusion that silence equals peace. But silence is not peace, it is paralysis. It is a wound left to rot. And you, by lifting your voice, are performing a kind of healing. Yes, it will sting. Yes, it will shake things. Yes, it will divide before it unites. But there is no healing without first revealing the sickness. You carry that revelation. What you are about to do will cause ripples. Some will call it disruption. Some will label you the problem. Some will claim you're tearing things down. But hear me, sometimes things must fall to be rebuilt stronger. Sometimes illusions must shatter so people can finally see what stands behind them. Your evidence isn't destruction, it's demolition of the false to clear space for what is right. And when that first tremor hits, when the whispers become questions, when the people who once doubted you begin to wonder if maybe, just maybe, you were right, hold steady. Let the proof speak for itself. Let their own fear betray their guilt. Let their own words contradict their lies. You don't have to argue anymore. You don't have to plead. The weight of what you hold is enough to collapse their charade. There is a sacred strength in standing tall with the truth in your hands. Feel it. Let it steady you. Let it anchor you when doubt creeps in. Because there will be moments, quiet ones, when the weight feels too much, when the eyes on you feel too heavy, when you wonder if the price is worth it. In those moments, return to your why. Return to the faces you're fighting for. Return to the memory of being ignored, being dismissed, being doubted. And know, this is your answer. Every sacrifice you make in pursuit of truth creates space for someone else to live freer. Every risk you take lights a path for someone else still in darkness. Every sleepless night, every difficult confrontation, every ounce of your resolve, it all matters. You are not shouting into the void, you are changing the atmosphere. You've got the proof they fear, and in that fear, there is opportunity, because fear is the shadow of guilt. They don't fear you, they fear the reflection of their own actions in the light of truth. Let that fear grow, let it expose, let it consume their lies until nothing false is left standing Do not be tempted to meet their manipulation with the same tools. Let them scheme while you strategize. Let them panic while you prepare. Let them guess while you calculate. Your strength is not in chaos, it is in precision. Be relentless, but be sharp. Be passionate, but be focused. Be fierce, but always be rooted in truth. And as the day of reckoning nears, as you stand on the edge of revelation, take one final look back, not in regret, but in acknowledgement. Every wound, every betrayal, every closed door brought you here. And here, you are unshakable. Here, you are aligned with a force greater than fear. Here, you are what they never expected. Unstoppable, unbending, undeniable. This moment isn't just about you. It's about everyone who has ever been told to sit down, shut up, and forget what they saw. It's about every injustice swept under the rug. It's about every secret transaction, every abuse of power, every act committed in the shadow of assumed immunity. You are not just one person with one truth. You are the embodiment of reckoning. You are the manifestation of consequence, and you are no longer asking. You are declaring. So when you step forward and reveal what they feared would never surface, know this: you are not shaking the foundations to break them. You are shaking them to test them, and anything that cannot withstand the truth deserves to fall. They may try to silence you once more. They may throw new obstacles, try to delay the process, shift blame, create noise. But once the truth is out, it grows wings. It spreads beyond your reach. It becomes more than you. It becomes everyone's. And that's what they fear most, that they can no longer contain it, that it will live on, echo on, ripple outward. This community is in for a shock, and not because you're making noise, but because you're making sense, because your proof is irrefutable, because your call is righteous, and because when the dust settles, they will realize you were never the threat. You were the cure. Let them fear you if they must, but let the good stand with you. Let those who still believe in fairness, in truth, in justice, let them rise. You don't need everyone, just enough to make the weight of your proof impossible to ignore. So go, stand firm, reveal boldly. Let the truth rise like thunder. Let the guilty tremble. Let the silence break. Let this community feel the shock, not of chaos, but of clarity. And when it's done, when the veil is torn and the proof laid bare, let them say, they didn't see it coming, but they should have. Because justice was always on your side. Because truth always finds its voice. And because you never stop believing in the power of cold, hard evidence. Let the room fall silent as the truth echoes. Let every breath hang heavy with the weight of realization. Let every eye widen as the implications settle in. What you have brought forward isn't just information, it's revelation. It's the splitting of illusion from reality. It's the cold mirror that forces a corrupt face to look at itself. You didn't just bring proof, you brought accountability. And in doing so, you've shifted the ground beneath the feet of those who believe they'd never have to answer for what they did. Silence. What a weapon it can be. Most people don't realize it, but silence cuts deeper than any insult, any scream, any explosion of emotion. They crave your reaction, beg for it, without ever saying a word. And yet, when you give them none, they are left adrift, drowning in the void of their own desires, their own desperate need for acknowledgement. They want you to speak. They want you to shout. They want to see the fire in your eyes and the fury in your voice. But you withhold it. You stand there unmoved, calm as a stone in a storm. And with every moment of your silence, you draw the knife deeper into their soul. Because that is what silence does. It cuts, slices into them in ways they can't understand. And it will leave them bleeding in a way they will never be able to heal from. People are creatures of emotion. They thrive on interaction. They need validation. They need to be seen, heard, felt. But when you remove that, when you give them nothing in return, it's as though you've drained them of their lifeblood. They'll search, desperately looking for any hint, any sign, any crack in your composure to give them the satisfaction they crave. And yet, they will find none. You give them nothing. You leave them with nothing. And what's worse for them is that they won't know why. Why is it that your silence hurts so much? What have they done to deserve it? The silence does not explain itself. It is not a dialogue. It is a judgment. It is an executioner standing still and watching them squirm. They don't realize that silence is not a lack of words. It is an intentional act of power. It is control in its purest form. You could shout, you could scream, you could unleash a torrent of fury and frustration upon them. But why waste your energy when silence will do the work for you? Why give them the satisfaction of seeing your rage when it is your silence that will torment them, that will break them apart from the inside out? In their desperate need for recognition, they will fall apart under the weight of your refusal to give them any. Every unspoken word is like a blade to their chest. Every moment you remain silent is another step toward their unraveling. And you stand there unshaken, unmoved, because you understand the power you hold. You know that silence is not weakness, it is strength. It is the strength to choose not to engage, the strength to refuse to give in to the noise, the strength to cut them off with nothing but your presence. It is a lesson that many will never learn, because they do not understand the true nature of silence. They mistake it for indifference, for coldness, for apathy. But that is not what silence is. Silence is a conscious decision, a calculated choice. It is a way of saying to the world, I do not need your validation. I do not need your approval. I do not need to explain myself to you. It is a way of saying that your words, your actions, your attempts to provoke me do not matter. It is the ultimate act of defiance, because in a world where people are addicted to noise, addicted to drama, addicted to attention, silence is a revolution. It is the refusal to engage with the chaos, the refusal to play their game. It is saying that you will not lower yourself to their level. You will not allow them to drag you into the mud with them. You will rise above it, remain silent, and watch them writhe in their own inadequacy. This is what you must understand. Your silence is not a punishment for them. It is a punishment for you. You are choosing to rise above the pettiness of their games. You are choosing to protect your energy, your peace, your time. People will come to you with their demands, their expectations, their need for validation. They will try to drag you into their dramas, their conflicts, their emotional turmoil. But you must remain silent. You must cut them off with your silence, because the moment you engage, the moment you give in to their need for attention, you lose. You lose your peace, your focus, your sense of self. You give them power over you, and that is the last thing you can afford to do. Cut them off with your silence, because they do not deserve your time. They do not deserve your energy. They do not deserve your attention. Your silence will show them that you have no need for their approval, that you are beyond their reach. It will show them that you are a force to be reckoned with, that you are not someone to be toyed with. It will show them that you are not easily swayed, that you will not be manipulated by their words or actions. You will remain unshaken, unmovable, and in control of your own destiny. And when they finally realize that they can no longer reach you, that they can no longer provoke you, that they can no longer get a rise out of you, they will crumble. They will break under the weight of their own need for validation. And you will remain standing strong, silent, and victorious. This is the power you hold, the power of silence, the power to cut people off without a word, to leave them wondering, questioning, searching for answers that will never come. You see, people are addicted to drama, addicted to the highs and lows of emotional chaos. They crave the rush of confrontation, the thrill of a fight, the satisfaction of seeing someone lose their composure. But you are above that. You do not need the chaos. You do not need the noise. You do not need the drama. You are beyond it. And when you cut them off with your silence, you show them just how powerless they are. You show them that their games will not work on you, that their attempts to provoke you will fail. You show them that you are in control, and that is a position they will never understand. They will try to make you feel guilty for your silence. They will try to convince you that you should be speaking, that you should be reacting, that you should be engaging. But you must ignore them. You must stand firm in your silence and let them drown in their own need for attention. Let them beg. Let them plead. Let them scream for your reaction. But give them nothing. Let them feel the sting of your indifference. Let them feel the weight of your refusal to play their game. And as they flounder in the emptiness of their own emotions, you will remain unshaken, unbroken, and silent. Your silence is a weapon. It is a tool of power, a tool of control, a tool of strength. It is the most effective way to cut people off, to sever the connection, to shut them down without ever lifting a finger. It is the most powerful thing you can do because it shows them that you do not need them. You do not need their approval, their validation, their attention. You are complete on your own, and they will never be able to understand that. They will never be able to grasp the power of your silence, and that is what will destroy them. They will continue to scream, to shout, to beg, but you will remain silent, and in your silence, you will find your strength. In your silence, you will find your power. In your silence, you will find your peace. And when they are finally left alone, broken and defeated by their own desperation, you will stand tall, unshaken, victorious. Your silence will have been the weapon that broke them, the weapon that freed you from their grasp, and you will never have to speak another word. The silence is your fortress. When the world tries to break down your walls with its chaos, its demands, its expectations, your silence stands tall, a towering wall that nothing can penetrate. They may call it avoidance, they may call it cowardice, they may even call it coldness, but you know better. They misunderstand the strength it takes to remain silent. They misunderstand the willpower it takes to not get drawn into their games, to not give in to the swirling maelstrom of emotions they push upon you. In silence, you are free, untouchable, and unburdened. Your silence is a defiance, an act of independence. It is a refusal to bow down to their desperate pleas for your attention, their insatiable thirst for your validation, and they will never understand that. But what they don't realize is that your silence speaks volumes. Your silence is not empty, it is full of your strength, your resolve, your unshakable belief in yourself. It is a statement that you no longer care to play by their rules. You no longer care to entertain their petty squabbles, their childish need to pull you into their world of noise and drama. You have found a higher ground, and there is no reason to descend back into their pit of turmoil. Silence is your shield, and they cannot penetrate it. It doesn't matter how loud they scream, how much they try to draw you into their orbit. You remain unmoved, unaffected, serene. Your silence is your power, and they will never be able to take that away from you. It takes a person of immense strength to be silent when the world expects them to react. The world thrives on noise. It thrives on people engaging, reacting, fighting for their piece of the spotlight. People seek validation in their anger, in their arguments, in their emotional outbursts. They need to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized. And when you remove yourself from that equation, When you refuse to play by those rules, you force them to face themselves. They are confronted with the emptiness of their need for validation. Your silence is the mirror that reflects their desperation, their own insecurity. They may never admit it, but inside, they are unraveling. Their need for acknowledgement becomes their own undoing. And it is your silence that fuels that unraveling, that drives them to madness. It's incredible, isn't it? How the world can demand so much from you and then be thrown into chaos the moment you refuse to give it. The moment you don't engage. The moment you pull away. The moment you cut them off with nothing but silence. They try to guilt trip you. They try to manipulate you into speaking, into responding, into giving them the attention they crave. But that's where they fail. They don't realize that your silence is not their defeat, but their own. You are not the one losing. They are. Because in their desperation to make you react, they are giving you more power than you could ever imagine. They may scream, they may cry, they may make threats, but none of it can touch you. None of it can reach you, and that drives them mad. You see, people live for conflict. They live for the chance to see others suffer, to witness the cracks in someone's composure. They take pleasure in pulling others into the fire, in creating drama, in seeing others stumble and fall. But when you refuse to participate, when you choose not to engage, you render them powerless. They no longer have control over you. They can no longer provoke you, no longer pull you into their world of noise and pain. And that is something they cannot accept. They want to see you break. They want to see you fall apart. They want to feel that rush of superiority when they manage to break down another person's walls. But they can't do that with you. They can't break you. They can't touch you. They can scream. They can shout. They can throw every insult in your direction, but it doesn't matter. You will remain silent. You will remain unshaken. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? To be able to stand there, unmoved, unaffected by the noise around you, while they continue to scream into the void. And the more they scream, the more they try to drag you into their world, the more they reveal just how weak they are. They think they can hurt you with their words, with their insults, with their attempts to provoke you. But they can't. Their words are empty because you do not need them. They are powerless because you have chosen to remove yourself from the equation. You have cut them off with your silence, and that silence is louder than anything they could ever say. Silence, my friend, is the ultimate form of control. It is the one thing that will always hold power over others. It is the one thing that people cannot comprehend. When you choose to remain silent, when you refuse to engage with their noise, you show them that they have no hold over you. You refuse to let them dictate your actions, your emotions, your energy. And that, in itself, is a form of rebellion. It's a refusal to let the world dictate who you are, what you feel, and how you behave. You are in control of yourself, and no one can take that away from you. There will always be people who try to bring you down, who will try to drag you into their mess, who will try to force you into their games. But you must rise above. You must see through the noise, see through the manipulation, see through the chaos. You must recognize the power of your silence, the power that comes with refusing to play their game. They want you to react. They want you to engage. They want you to get caught up in their drama. But you will not. You will not let them. You will stay silent, and in doing so, you will remain the victim. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving them wrong. This is about you protecting your peace. This is about you choosing to no longer give in to the chaos, no longer letting the world pull you into its emotional whirlwind. This is about choosing to stand strong in your own power, in your own peace. This is about choosing not to let others define you, not to let their noise drown out your voice. And in your silence, you reclaim your power, you reclaim your peace, you reclaim yourself. There is a certain beauty in silence. It's not just a tool of destruction, it's a tool of creation. It creates space for you to be who you are, to reflect, to grow, to heal. In the silence, there are no distractions, no noise, no interference. It is you and your thoughts, and that is all that matters. The world may scream, may demand, may push, but you remain still. You remain calm, you remain at peace. Because you know that silence is your ally. Silence is your friend. Silence is your protector. And when the world finally realizes that it can no longer touch you, that it can no longer provoke you, that it can no longer control you, they will fall silent. They will have nothing left. Because in your silence, you have won. You have silenced the chaos. You have silenced their manipulation. You have silenced their attempts to break you. And you will never have to speak another word, because you already know that silence speaks louder than anything else ever could. So walk away. Let them shout. Let them scream. Let them try to pull you back into their web of noise and chaos. But you will remain silent. You will cut them off with your silence, and in that silence, you will find your strength, your power, your freedom. They will never understand it. They will never comprehend the depth of your silence. And that, in the end, is what will break them. Because you see, silence is not just an absence of sound. It is a presence, a force that can change the world around you. It is the absence of noise, but the presence of control. It is the absence of conflict, but the presence of peace. And when you cut them off with your silence, you create a space where nothing else matters, where you stand tall, unshaken, untouchable, and they are left to wonder, to question, to search for answers that will never come. And so, you will never have to speak another word, because in your silence, you have already said everything that needs to be said. I see you standing there, unwavering, in the face of everything that tries to break you down. In the silence, there is a strength that words could never fully capture. In the silence, there is a power that transcends every petty argument, every insult, every cry for attention. People are so desperate for you to react, so desperate to hear you speak, because they believe that the power lies in the noise, but they couldn't be further from the truth. Power is not in speaking. Power is not in engaging. Power is in choosing not to speak, choosing not to engage. Power is in your ability to remain unaffected when everything around you tries to pull you into its chaos. They may think they understand what silence means, but they don't. They see it as weakness, but it is far from it. When you choose silence, when you cut them off with your silence, you are making a conscious choice. You are choosing to protect your energy, to preserve your peace, to stand above the emotional maelstrom that is swirling around you. And it takes incredible strength to make that choice, because the world will try to make you believe that your silence is a form of submission, that you are too afraid to confront the situation, that you are somehow less than because you refuse to stoop to their level. But let me tell you this, your silence is not weakness. It is the embodiment of your inner strength. It is the refusal to engage in the trivial, the refusal to be dragged down by the toxicity of the world. You are not less than because of your silence. You are more. More because you refuse to get lost in the noise. There is a misconception that silence is passive, that it is merely the absence of sound or speech. People think that when you don't speak, you are doing nothing. But that couldn't be further from the truth. In silence, you are doing everything. You're actively choosing to rise above, to refuse the bait that is being thrown at you. You are choosing to protect your emotional resources, your mental space, your well-being. You're making a powerful statement with every moment of silence, a statement that says, I will not lower myself to your level. I will not participate in this drama. I will not give you the satisfaction of seeing me react. And that is something that the world does not understand. They think that silence means they've won, but what they fail to realize is that your silence is the victory itself. Think about it. When people lash out at you, when they throw insults your way, or try to provoke you into a response, what do they really want? They want control. They want to see you lose your composure. They want to see you react. They want to feel that rush of power that comes from making someone else lose their cool. But when you refuse to give them that reaction, when you withhold your energy, your emotions, your words, you take that control away from them. And that is where their power ends. They will try harder, they will scream louder, they will push more aggressively, but you will remain still, calm, collected. And as they continue to throw themselves against the wall of your silence, they will only exhaust themselves, wearing themselves thin in their desperate attempts to get a rise out of you. Your silence becomes their undoing. It frustrates them. It confuses them. They don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they can't handle it. Silence exposes their need for validation, their insecurity, their desperation. They can't comprehend how someone could remain so unbothered, so calm, when they are doing everything they can to make you react. In their mind, they are in control. But the moment you refuse to engage, you strip that illusion away from them. They no longer have control over you. They no longer have the power to manipulate you into playing their game. And that is what drives them insane. They cannot fathom that you are so strong, so immune to their tactics, that you can remain unmoved. It frustrates them because they want to believe they have power, but they have none over you. And here lies the beauty of silence. It forces people to confront their own need for validation. They will look at you, see your unshakable composure, and wonder why you are so unaffected. They will question themselves, their actions, and their own need to provoke a reaction from you. They will look for cracks in your silence, for some indication that they have managed to get under your skin, but they will find none. The more they push, the more they try to pull you into their world, the more they will come face to face with their own insecurities, their own emotional turmoil. They will begin to realize that their power over you was always an illusion, and that realization is a bitter one, because once they know they have no power over you, they are left with nothing. They are left to face the emptiness of their own actions. The silence becomes a reflection of your strength, your independence, your resilience. It is the embodiment of your refusal to let anyone dictate your worth or your emotional state. You don't need to scream, you don't need to shout, you don't need to make a scene. Your silence says everything that needs to be said. And in a world where everyone is shouting, fighting for attention, for recognition, for approval, your silence stands as a monument to your power. While they are caught up in the noise, you remain still, unshaken, above it all. You are not part of the chaos. You are separate from it. You are in control. And as they continue to try to drag you into their mess, to provoke you, to make you react, you will remain silent. You will continue to walk away, to refuse to engage, to protect your peace, because you know that silence is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign of strength. The world will tell you that you must always speak up, always stand your ground, always defend yourself. But you know that there are times when silence is the most powerful weapon you can wield. There are times when saying nothing says everything. There are times when silence is the most effective way to protect yourself, to protect your energy, to protect your peace. And so you remain silent, not because you are afraid, not because you are weak, but because you understand the power that silence holds. You understand that silence is not the absence of strength, but the presence of it. You understand that silence is not the absence of words, but the presence of your own authority. In a world that thrives on noise, your silence is your strength. In a world that demands your attention, Your silence is your defiance. In a world that wants to see you break, your silence is your resilience. So let them scream, let them shout, let them throw their tantrums, let them try to pull you into their whirlwind of noise. But you will remain still, you will remain silent, and in that silence, you will find your peace, you will find your strength, you will find your freedom, because you know that when you cut them off with your silence, you're cutting them off from your energy, from your attention, from your time. And that is the most powerful thing you can ever do. You have already said everything that needs to be said. You have already communicated more in your silence than words could ever convey. You have already shown them your strength, your power, your resilience. You have already proven that you are not like them, that you are not interested in playing their games. You have already shown that you are beyond their reach, beyond their manipulation, beyond their need for validation. And in doing so, you have already won. Your silence is the final word, and that is a victory that no one can take away from you. In the end, silence is not a void, it is a force. It is the most powerful statement you can make when the world demands your reaction. By choosing silence, you reclaim your power, control your energy, and rise above the noise. You do not need to shout, to argue, or to engage in the chaos. Your silence speaks louder than any words ever could, exposing the weakness of those who seek to provoke you. It is in your silence that you find your strength, your peace, and your victory. You've already said everything that needs to be said, and in that, you stand untouchable, unshaken, and free.